Gypsies, Roma and travellers are three words that stand for a lot of different people. Just like with everyone, Gypsy, Roma and traveller people have things in common with each other, and some things that are different. But to understand this story now, it's important to go back to the beginning. Living in one place is a recent thing. People were nomads for 99% of our history, travelling around to survive. Then about 10,000 years ago, something changed. People realised that if they grew crops, harvested and stored them, they would have a better chance of surviving hard times. Where people had tracked animals or travelled with their herds, settled farming became the norm. But not everyone changed their ways. Many people didn't want to settle down, or bad harvests, droughts, floods, war would send them back on the move. In Britain and Ireland, nomadic peoples were probably well established by about 1000 AD. There were the Celtic traveller peoples, the Irish travellers who called themselves the Parvi or Minkers, and across the Irish Sea there were the Scottish travellers, the Norkin. They had their own languages. The Irish travellers talked the Gammon and the Scottish travellers spoke the Bualadh Agad. Both have sometimes been called the Cant. Some travellers worked the land. Others were musicians and storytellers who brought entertainment and news to the people of the countryside. Some were horse dealers, tinsmiths and metalworkers. For centuries they lived in tents and travelled mostly on foot. One traditional name for the Irish travellers was An Lucht Shul, which means the walking people. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, a people called the Roma or Romanis had been travelling west, starting from northwest India. The word Roma comes from an old word Rom, meaning man or husband. It isn't related to Rome or Romania, they just look similar. In the late 1400s, a group arrived in Scotland. They were received by King James IV. They told fortunes, had exotic-looking clothes, darker skin and an Indian language, Romani. They stood out from everyone else and were referred to as Egyptians, a word that eventually turned into Gypsies. As time went on, they did much of the same work as other travellers. Some were specialists in other trades, like wickerwork, charcoal burning, even pearl fishing and snake catching. In the 1500s and 1600s, there were some attempts to expel them from the land. In some cases, people were deported across the sea, or even hanged for being gypsies. But by the 1700s, Romani gypsies lived all over Britain. Some families mixed with the travellers who were already here. Down in England and Wales, like elsewhere, most nomads lived in tents made from arched sticks stuck in the ground with canvas on top. But some gypsies and travellers put their tents on flat carts to keep them off the cold, wet ground. The traveller's wagon was born. The bow-top became a common sight in Ireland as well as Britain. Later, wagons were purpose-built in various shapes and sizes, mobile works of art. Over the years, travellers went back and forth across the Irish Sea and the borders of mainland Britain. Some worked on the canals and motorways, fought in wars for their country, and many became self-employed. They did jobs like scrap metal collecting, roofing, flower selling, and tarmacking, trades you could take on the move, trades that continue today. Romani people from other parts of Europe continued to come, in small numbers at first, with more arriving in the 21st century. So those three words, Gypsies, Roma, travellers, they hide a lot of meaning. They get used in lots of ways, but they're just the names of people, like English, Indian, or Italian. Over the years, some travelling people have settled down. Some move less often, and others hardly at all. But however they live, they take their languages, memories, and cultures with them. They are proud of their roots and their family, and why shouldn't they be? After all, if you go back far enough, There's a traveller in every story,